Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. This is Patrick at Qdabra. I hope you're having a great day. It's a rainy day in Seattle today. I have Don Lambatin with me, who's our test engineer, and he will be joining me for demos in a moment. We have a short presentation for you today. We have a few slides, and then we have a bunch of demos. We actually have 4 demos. So that's today's agenda. Before we get started, I'd like to do a quick poll and see how many of you have DBXL. And so we're going to do a quick poll here. It's just one question, and I'll launch the poll. And we've been shipping DBXL here for over 11 years now, and it goes back all the way to 1.0. We tend to do dot releases, so it's 1.1, 1.2, and so on. So we've had about 30 releases, and we're just going to do a quick get your feedback here. Hopefully you can see the screen, and it looks like most of you do not have it. I'm going to make sure that the poll is actually working. I guess I'm an organizer, so I can't vote, but thank you. I guess we got 78% of you voted, so thank you very much. And I've got one more thing I wanted to share with you before we get started, and that is the update from Microsoft. Microsoft announced with great fanfare last week, actually it was May 4th, 2 weeks ago, that they have a new product called Power Apps, and they've actually been talking about it since December of last year. And they created a new workflow-like product called Flow. And they did a bunch of presentations at the SharePoint, Future of SharePoint conference in San Francisco. And it was a feature highlight of the presentation of the 1.5 hour presentation, Future of SharePoint by Jeff Tepper. Satya Nadella was also on the presentation with a video. So we were really super excited about this. And we engaged heavily, the whole team got around it, and we decided, okay, well, this is it. This is the new replacement for InfoPath. Let's take a look at this. We'd already looked at it in December of last year, and it wasn't ready at that time. So we invested quite a bit of time looking into it, and unfortunately, it's a vast disappointment, and it's not ready. And I've been very depressed last week because I want to believe that they had something, but they don't really have anything. There's no real-world scenarios. They don't really have a dev environment. What I mean by that is that there's no debug support. They admitted on the calls that it was not a replacement for InfoPath, and there's no offline, no pricing information, and really there's nothing that you can use today to create reasonable forms like you do with InfoPath. So basically they're just toy applications at this point, little things to look up data on your SharePoint site. So that's a quick update on Power Apps. We're hopeful that they'll be releasing a new version over the summer. They're talking about having a cadence that's like every month, every 2 weeks. I think they announced. I talked to Microsoft internally. I've been actually exchanging emails with Microsoft quite a bit in the last week, asking them why they did all this hype before they had something. Of course, they didn't say why. They kind of dismissive of the suggestion. But the reality is that they're fighting to, I think, retain relevance in this business process automation area because it's the fastest growing area of SharePoint. And I think that they're having a hard time with the releases. But anyway, Greg Lindhorst of Microsoft, we love the guy. I'm going to hopefully meet with him beginning of June, and they'll have another release, and we'll take another look at it. So we're still very optimistic, but right now there's nothing there. One other thing to bring to your attention is a new bug we found with Office 2016. In fact, one of our customers found it, and we did a support call yesterday with them, and I thought it was worth pointing out. If you have 2016 installed with InfoPath 2013, and you've installed InfoPath 2013 from the MSDN site for people who have upgraded, right? So I think it says install InfoPath 2013 for Office 365 Pro Plus, but that's what they point you to. Even though you may not have Office 365, you install from that place. And then if you do this scenario here, the steps, then you end up with links that don't open. And not everyone has this problem. And so this was a quick indication that there was a problem with the computers. And it turns out that there is. The user agent string was not being passed, and therefore when you log into the browser, it wasn't identifying InfoPath as being a valid launch option for the library. The fix was very easy. You just add SharePoint site to your trusted sites on those machines and everything works again. So it is a bug in the InfoPath 2013 upgrade or the downgrade or what do you want to call it. That installation kit has a bug in the way it loads things in the registry, and just want to make you aware of it. Okay, so let's do a quick show of hands here. Actually, that's not. I had a question I wanted to ask everyone, and now I forgot. So we'll just skip that. So today we're talking about our database accelerator, which is a generic web service for connecting InfoPath forms to a database. Now it encompasses many more features than that, but that was how we started it back in 2004 actually. We had a customer that came to us and they were deploying SharePoint 2003, and they said, look, we want to build forms, but we're going to collect a lot of data. And they're actually a hospital and the multi-specialty clinic, to be specific. So the multi-specialty clinic came to us and they said, look, we've got all these patient records that we want to collect, and we're going to have lots of them. We're going to have 10, 20, 100,000, a million. We want to collect these, and we want to do reporting on these. And we looked at InfoPath support at the time. Qdabra had just started business in 2003, and we knew that there was a limitation with the integration between InfoPath and SQL. And specifically, you can't connect InfoPath to SQL across the internet or the intranet. You have to have a connection to the SQL database. So that was a problem for browser forms. For filler forms, you can do it, but you have to have a SQL login. And so we wanted to create a web service to simplify things. Plus, when you're dealing with the SQL database, pulling the schemas into InfoPath, you get all kinds of schemas, and it's different for every database. So we wanted to create a layer in between the client, InfoPath, and the server to make it easy to have one web service for all of your forms. And that was where DBXL began, the Database Accelerator. And since then, we've added lots of features for things like mapping data from, we can actually map data from a web page now to XML, so we can create XMLs. I'll talk about this more in a second. We've got PDF support. Obviously, we're in the cloud now, and we have a lot of users using it. Here's a quick schematic of, we did this demo of 3.0, we shipped in December, and we talked about features at that time as well. We're really excited about the features in 3.1 because they're basically based on user feedback. So we took the top 3 requests from a couple of our really heavy users, and we just implemented them. It's surprising it took us this long to implement these. I'll talk about those features in a second. But here you see a guy either on the internet, logged into 365, or externally, submitting a form to the library, and then of course the library syncs it to the web service. The web service then maps it to a SQL database, which you can then report on, and I'll show that today in a demo, my first demo. We also generate PDFs. I'll show that today. And those PDFs get sent to people either in the organization or outside. A very flexible interface. We also provide archiving of PDFs and XML data to folders like OneDrive and SharePoint libraries. And like I said earlier, we can generate XMLs from a web page so that you can kind of in a dashboard way programmatically generate the forms to be sent down to the people in the field that were actually filling them out. So the main 4 reasons of why we built this accelerator was to fill the gap in SharePoint and InfoPath, to go beyond the default storage limits of SharePoint, to save time integrating lots of forms with SQL, right? So instead of having separate web services for every form, one generic web service, and to enable a lot of missing features. Also, for performance reasons, it's much faster to query SQL than to query a separate SharePoint library, especially when that data, you got a lot of data in SQL. You could use business connectivity services, but it doesn't work with really complex table structures. And well, it does, but you have to write code, and it's not a generic data-driven interface like DBXL is. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. We're going to show you the mapping. So the new features in 3.1, there are a bunch of new features, but the main one is the new dashboard. So we got a lot of feedback from people. I'm going to show you what the old dashboard looks like. So this is our test server here, and hopefully you can see this. We were using InfoPath as our admin up until 3.1, and you can see here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 test documents. These are form templates that I've synchronized with DBXL, and to edit them, I just click on this edit button, and we will see here in a minute, they'll get, you can see it's taking some time, right? It's 1001, 1002. We're at 5 seconds. Okay, and you can see I can change the XSN that's attached for that doc type. I can go in and specify a database mapping. So this is the way we used to do things, right? We used to have a InfoPath form, and the feedback we got from our customers was, number one, it was slow, like you just saw. It was 5 to 10 seconds to open that. And customers got authentication prompts if it was not on their local internet or in their trusted sites, which required typing in the password 2 or 3 times. So let's take a look at the new one. And of course we support Chrome. So here's the new panel. Actually, this is the same panel you get if you navigate to the web service. You get this new panel, which is slightly revised. We actually are going to make a few more changes to this to make it look a little bit better, but this is really the starting place for administrators of the web service. And they click on the admin tool, and of course they see a view here, and if we click on, it's the same number of forms. If we click on edit here, you can see that it's much faster. Okay, so before we go further with the dashboard though, I want to show you a sort of end-to-end demo of submitting a form and so forth. So that's the first key feature benefit in 3.1 is you've got a much more responsive dashboard. It doesn't require InfoPath filler, so you don't have to install it, and you don't have the authentication prompts related to it. Number 2, second big feature was these generic usage reports, these stats. And I'll show these again in a second, but I'll just quickly show you what these look like. So we have these what we call usage stats, and there's a couple ways to get to it, but if I go to the, I guess I need to go to this first, and then I go to Tools, Usage. And so you can see here that we're automatically generating graphs, and you've got different kinds of graphs you can generate. And we've got these 3 different, basically the benefit here is that you can quickly see which form template is being used. And you can zoom in on, which one was being used across. So we've done a lot of testing last night, and this is a test server, so we only had 15 submits, so it wasn't a huge deal, right? But you can quickly get an idea of who's using what. We have different objects, so you can look at users, you can look at document types, you can look at the errors, and then the operation that's performed on those document types, and then the time period. So this is a very quick way of getting a sense of what's happening on your server. So that was the second thing that we added. And once again, customer requests, they want to know which form template was, we have a customer that has over, I think it is 250 or so form templates. We have quite a few customers that are in the 100 plus range in terms of form templates in DBXL. And one of our customers that has, I think, the most, 250 or so, they had a request to say, hey, I want to know which form template is being used more, what are the stats. And obviously all this data is in your database, but we thought it would be easy to create a nice little view on the dashboard to show you in real time what that was looking like. So that's the second feature. And once again, I haven't even gotten to the demos yet. I'm just going to go through these features here. Better error reporting, so I'll quickly switch to that and show you the error reporting. Error reporting is something that if you have a mapping error, if you're mapping from an XML file to the database and your database table has a column that's restricted to some number of for example, characters, like let's say you have a character column that has only like 40 characters or so, then the reshred or mapping may fail. And so you can see here that I've got 2 errors here from last night, and you can quickly look at those mapping errors. Now, of course, we get the full error text here, which is not super useful yet. We need to do something about that, but you can at least understand that there was an error and that we need to reshred some documents. And this does, this is the stack trace. It's a little bit more, it's a little better when there's just one form, but in this case I reshredded all the documents and there was one error in it because the size of the expression, the size of the field was too large. And you can see here, actually that the error was different here. This is like a contention issue. So these are different errors than I saw last night. But if you have a mapping error, it will look a little bit better. You can also see when things are submitted. So you can see here that if we go back further, you can see all the information about when documents were added. So this is kind of a log of all of the things that are going on your server there. And it's easy to page through that and see where the errors are by filtering on errors. Okay, so that's the error reporting. We also have it configurable to send you an email, so if there's a mapping error. The good news is the data, the form, will always be saved. Then you can go back and fix the mapping error in SQL after the fact and solve the problem. So for your reporting. So if there is a mapping error, what happens is the data doesn't get mapped to the SQL columns in the tables, but the data in XML is still saved. So what you do is you go back and you change the mapping. And the way you do that is you just go to the mapping tab. So we'll just go back to the catalog and we'll look at our test document, and we just go into the mapping tab on this. And you can see here's where you map the data from the form on the right to the SQL database on the left. You can see we have a parent table for QD expense report, and then we have a bunch of child tables here. And you can go arbitrarily deep, and this form has 3 child tables. So let's take a look at this expense report sample. I've got another quick demo I want to show you. Oh, here's my SharePoint site. So typically what you're going to do is you're going to deploy this to SharePoint. This is 365, but it works fine on-prem as well. And you're going to go in here and you're going to create a new document and submit it. So just for the purpose of this demo, I've already got one that I submitted earlier, and I'm going to add a value to this. So this is just a really simple expense report form that we demo a lot. It's the 2007 version. It's very old now. I'm just going to add a new item to this, and I'm going to say team meeting, and this is going to be morale, and we're going to bring people some cupcakes. My goodness, we need cupcakes, don't we? We need cupcakes. We're going to get a lot of cupcakes. We're going to get $29 worth. Okay, so now my total is $80.67. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to actually show you what the database looks like. So we'll go into the remote desktop connector here, and with any luck, I will be able to connect to that database and show you the table that that's mapping to. And we're just connecting to the server here, and I'm going to drag this over so you can see the remote desktop connection. And here's the server, and so I need to obviously launch SQL here. Okay, so here's our SQL database, and I've got this this database. I'm writing to Qdabra utility current, and I need to basically go in here and look at the top 1,000 rows. And you'll see in here that I've got the team meeting now, $29 mapping into my database. The parent-child database, so we've got a parent table and a child table, and of course the parent table is this one, and those are our expenses, just 8 of them. And you can see here that last one, or the first one, office supplies, was recently submitted. Actually, we don't have the time coming through, but you can see the total here on the right is 8067. So we are mapping the data to the database, and if I look at, I've got a quick way to look at the data is using Excel. So Excel is a great tool for creating quick ad hoc pivots, reports. And so what I've done here is I've actually connected this Excel spreadsheet to the Azure database in the cloud. And you can see here that what you do is you just go in here and you just have to add in the connection string to the database and the database table that you want to connect to and so on. And then you have to put in your authentication, because you do have to have a connection to the database to do this, unlike with our forms. And then you can refresh it. Now you can see here that it was 2121 was our total number of expenses, and there was the layout. We should see morale go up a bit once I refresh this. I'm just going to go to Data, refresh all, and then I have to refresh this separately. And there it goes, 2150, huge jump. so that's a quick way, and there's lots of options here. So here I just pull in the parent table and the child table, and I just pivot them in the pivot table. But you could go crazy and get really, you could do SQL reporting. I mean, the database gives you a lot of options. So that's better reporting, better error reporting, and the mapping UI. Let's take a look at how we configure DBXL in the SharePoint site. So if you look at this library here, on the library ribbon, you can see that there's a DBXL list settings tool. And if we click on this, it takes a second to load. It's a provider-hosted app, and this is how you configure DBXL. So you're going to install this app, SharePoint app, from us, and then you can connect it to your Azure database. It's very simple to do. You just install the app, and then you configure it, and you have to point it to a database, and you can manage the DBXL instances. You can add new instances. You see we've got 6 instances here that we're testing. And you have to put in the app package information when you're adding a new one. And then once you've added your instance, you can come down here and you can specify, okay, I want this library to synchronize to the following. I want to map to a doc type that's defined in the actual form XML. So that's the doc type underneath my expense report, my form values. You can do conditional submit, you can do conditional deletes. There's a lot of power here when you're synchronizing those forms to conditionally map or not, conditionally submit or not, depending on values in the form. You can see here that you've also got the ability to save and test the configuration, synchronize it now if you want to force the submit, and so on. In general, it's pretty fast, and if we look at my email here, we should have received, and we did, we received a DBXL rendering service has sent us an email saying that, yes, indeed, your form has been rendered. And so we've got a mapping. I'm going to show you the PDF rendering in a second, but basically we saw that the form was submitted to the database. We saw that the values were updated. In addition, we have a PDF mapping defined on the form that generates a PDF that gets sent out to one or more people, and that's exactly what you see right there. So I'm going to show you how that is done, but first let's go back to the slides here. So actually that's the next thing, new UI for PDF automation. And so I think, Dawn, would you like to do your quick demo now? Yeah. I don't want to be the only one talking. I'm going to make you presenter. Are you ready? Yep. Great to have you here today. Dawn is our support lead and one of our test engineers for DBXL, and he's been working all night here in the Philippines, his day, and he's going to show us how to configure the PDF mapping. And Don, we're running out of time, so as fast as you can do it, I don't want to put you under a lot of pressure here, but let's go to the, yeah. So go back to the dashboard, the main page, show them how you get to the PDF setting page. So we have, yeah. And let me just talk about this for a second here, Don. While you're going there, you're going to navigate to the PDF settings page. And the way you get there is you go underneath the doc types. In 3.0, it was very, very difficult to get to the PDF settings. You actually had to open up an InfoPath form. But what John's going to show you is a simpler UI. Sorry, Don.
this is the general page where the PDF or the XSN is uploaded.
Could you speak up just a little bit, Don? Sorry.
Sorry about that. Before we used to go to the we needed to go to the system doc types in order to access the PDF mapping, but now we can access the PDF mapping directly at the config page of the XSN or the doc type, since we have a PDF mapping, and from here click the edit button to load up the configuration. So from here you can specify whenever you want to create a PDF, whenever the form is submitted or modified, and the PDF naming using XPath to the fields and the email, and you can select whichever view you want. So from this one, we're using the default view. So if we submit a form, I'll just submit.
They just saw this, Don. So go ahead and change the view and just submit again. So just because we're running out of time here. And actually, it's not there. Don, isn't it at the top? We want to change it.
Oh yeah, right. This one, the print view.
The one down below is for the body of the email, but the one on top is what's actually being generated. Thanks.
And there you go. It's saved. Now, if we resend the form, one of the forms, I'll just open this up. Okay, and we submit this one. Instead of seeing this view, we should be seeing this view, which I've pre-created in the form. So it's a simpler view, black and white, and that's what I should be receiving in a minute now.
Yeah, so while Don's waiting for that email to come through, it should be pretty fast. As you saw with mine, it should be instantaneous. I'm going to quickly, we're almost done with the webinar. We've got, I think just, I think that's about it for the demos, but we'll ask some, give you a chance to ask questions, and we'll talk a little bit about, I think there's one more slide. So Don, did you get the email?
Yep, here we go.
Oh, great. Okay, so they saw the rendering with the other view, and now they're seeing it with this new view, and that's how easy it is to change the PDF mapping. And a great quick demo there, Don. Thank you so much. So I'm going to quickly switch back to my main machine here, and hopefully show you my slides again. Okay, so we did update DBXL as well to include 365 updates, so we've got some bug fixes for large libraries. And we've done the demo to show you the submit to 365 and the mapping, PDF gen, and the Excel report. We also demoed, I showed you how to configure the list settings in 365 to specify your DBXL connection. We showed you the new dashboard with the error reports and the PDF mapping. We changed the PDF mapping and showed you what happens when that gets changed. So what we're saying today is, please upgrade, or please plan an upgrade. If you have not installed DBXL, we're here to help you do that. And it takes an hour or so. If you do an Azure install, it's 90 minutes. You have to update, create the Azure instance, install SQL Express, install DBXL, and then configure it. It's about 90 minutes. Sometimes it takes 2 hours. Sometimes it takes 1 hour, but it's in that 1 to 2 hour range. If you're installing on-prem, it can take anywhere from 1 to 4 hours, depending on the complexity of your farm environment. So we're here to help you do both for free. Obviously, if you're a customer of ours, upgrades are free. If you're a new customer, we're more than happy to install it and help you see the benefit of collecting data. If you're trying to migrate data from InfoPath to some other application, it's great to get the data out of your forms and put it in SQL. and DBXL will help you do that. The online version is something we've been talking about recently. We have a very reduced pricing model for Azure Online. It's about $625 a quarter. It's exactly that. It includes an enterprise license, 4 hours of support per quarter. Normally our support's $150 an hour, so that's pretty much what the cost is. And then there's the response time. We make your request VIP level, and of course anything you find with the web service is fixed at our cost. So that's just a quick summary, and let's turn to questions. Does anyone have any questions on our demo today, on our webinar today? Any comments or questions? We have 4-question survey at the end. If you answer that, we'll provide some documentation and the PowerPoint deck to you. We appreciate you being here, and it doesn't look like we have any questions, but thanks for being here. I know we've got a lot of people using DBXL, and we're really happy to announce that we've almost shipped 3.1. We hope to ship it in 2 or 3 more weeks, and we've already got people on it, so if you're interested, please don't hesitate to let us know. I don't think we have questions today, but thanks for joining. Look forward to talking to you again next week. Have a great day.